think we might be live.
I don't. Oh yeah, we're there.
But are we live? I don't know if we're live.
I don't.
We're
yeah,
live.
we're there.
But Internet, are we live? I don't know if we're live. What is
I see-
alive, really?
I see
yeah,
us.
we're there.
You know, Internet, are
We're
we
live.
live? I don't know if we're live. What is
I see-
alive, really?
I see
yeah,
us.
we're there.
You know, Internet, are we live?
Chat, tell me I look cute. Chat, tell me I look
You
cute.
look cute, Ben.
You're not chat, Katie. Get out of
You're
here.
white.
Chat, tell me I look
yeah,
You look
not
cute,
chat.
Ben.
You're not
Wow.
chat, Katie.
Okay.
Get out of
You're
here.
white. Damn.
Chat,
Your
not
opinion
chat.
matters to me more than
Wow.
Katie's.
Okay.
Get out of here.
That's a lot of audio.
Hey.
Can't hear Zeki. But you can hear Ben and I, okay?
How about now? Can you hear me
How
now?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me
Or
now?
is
This is like a Verizon.
commercial? Yeah.
or-
Same joke.
Okay.
Sponsor us.
Yeah.
Yeah, Verizon Wireless, sponsor us.
Sponsor us frame by frame. Into the
frame by
metagame.
frame even.
So
Yeah.
Zeki, how does this work?
So this works. Welcome everybody to the channel. This is a Tale d20s. We're presenting Storyboard. This is a kind of a DM creator focused chat where we kind of go back and forth and talk about the homebrew world that like you're creating and living in and putting your players through torturously sometimes.
That feels a little personal.
I'm just saying there's some definite trauma that we're going through in this campaign over on the Amateurish Production channel,
yeah.
which brings me to my fantastic guests. I'd like to welcome Katie and Ben, co-founders with yours truly over at Amateurish Productions, where we have been let me let you guys handle it. What are we doing over there? Like what's our shtick?
Ben, would you like to go or do you want me to go?
I feel like you're the best at the shtick, Katie.
I don't think I'm very
What's
good
up,
at the
Joriel?
shtick.
Joriel?
No, so at AP, we are a predominantly TTRPG focused channel. We have a core campaign that airs every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. It is currently set in D&D 5th edition. We are in the process of moving it over to Pathfinder 2nd edition. The second Tuesday in March will be that first session. But on top of that, we do a lot of things. Right now, we are working on actually trying to transition all of the TTRPG stuff we do to be in the world of Mitra, which is the world of the core campaign. So there definitely are some other TTRPGs from other worlds that have made their way onto our channel in the past. We are sort of honing in on playing around just in this one space. And on top of that, we do some variety streaming type stuff. Tomorrow we will be playing Among Us. And we've played Escape Academy and World of Warcraft and Jackbox games and all those sorts of other things. But I would say that if I had to pick a category, TTRPGs are definitely our bread and butter.
For sure. And I think you did such a great job there, Katie, kind of, typifying everything and giving us the breakdown. So I guess, Ben,
Hello.
what is Mitra?
Oh, dude. I mean, I guess so. Okay. There's like two ways
And
that I
actually,
can answer this.
And let me something that I have been doing here on Storyboard is whenever I get like a dungeon master or two in the chat, I kind of I make them do this very funny thing where give me your elevator pitch. Like if you were trying to convince maybe someone to give you a sponsorship or just like a friend on an elevator to come and check out the channel, what would you tell them the campaign's about, the main campaign?
The main campaign, I would tell them, okay, so not Mitra the world, but Mitra Rising the campaign.
Yeah.
I would say that Mitra Rising is it's a campaign basically built around people being able to explore various parts of who they are, who they the players are in the context of a make-believe world where you get to have like super cool magical powers and take on your traumas head to head in a very like tangible way in the game, you know, whether that's through rolling math rocks or through, you know, like self-insertion of your lived experiences. I said that and was like, that's a weird way to phrase that. I should fix this immediately.
No, we're keeping it. For sure.
Yeah, so it's like it's a way for them to take various parts of their lives, you know, as much or as little as they feel inclined to put into it and explore it. Mitra itself, the world, I think conceptually is something that, I mean, the three of us came up with it. And the idea being that it is a space in which you can play in a TTRPG, like system agnostic world. You know, whether it's you want to play VTM or you want to play 5th edition or you want to play Pathfinder 2nd edition or you want to play AD&D. The idea of the world itself is that it doesn't matter what you want to play in it, you can. I mean, I think a great example of that is like, okay, so we made this decision as a table and as a, you know, three of us, I guess, really as a sort of virtual table. I'd say a round table, but there's three, so it's got corners. It's a triangle. You know, that we wanted to have any session that happens on AP happen in the world of Mitra, which can provide some interesting logistical challenges. The one that comes to mind is Jockland, right? Which is like you're playing cute little animals. It's a sweet little like happy fun time where the stakes are low and you just get to be cozy. You're like, how do we make that work in a world that is not that? It's like, oh, it's a storybook, right? Like the adventures that you have in that setting are stories that kids are reading in the world. And I think that sort of like sums up the way that we're trying to like, you know, pull things in and make it work. Is like, okay, how do you have systems that are maybe totally at odds with like the vibe at a specific point, or just like at odds because of what they are, right? Like Redwall is not real world TTRPG, right? It's, you know, it's animals, but it's like 6 foot tall rabbits and stuff like that. So I think that kind of sums up what Mitra is. One is a way for you to explore yourself, and two is a way to like build and play in whatever system you happen to enjoy building and playing in.
I gotta say, compared to some of the other elevator pitches that I've had on the channel, yours was about 2 minutes, maybe 2 minutes and 25 seconds. So I'd say like if you were like, you know, going to
I had to say it in 30
building, or no, you had like the shortest one by far.
That was the shortest?
Yeah, I swear people like they go in 5-minute ones, which is totally fine because they're excited about their world and stuff and things they're creating.
I mean, you asked for an elevator pitch.
I know, and I think like, you know, this is like some of the difficult things that like we as content creators go through. It's like, how do you distill what you're doing into something that's that bite size? You know what I mean? Like, how would you make that into a TikTok and like get someone to come to see the channel, which is like, you know, constant problems in the genre of just getting people's attention. Like time economy is the most important thing we deal with, and including our own scheduling.
Big facts.
Right. So I guess something that I think could be really fun to kind of kick off our dive into the world of Mitra would be this beautiful little island in the center of our screen right now, and it's called Acadia. I believe the three of us were looking at Katie, or Katie wasn't looking at herself, but she was looking at the island.
I'm always looking at myself.
No.
She might have been looking at herself. Yeah, I guess we did get a question from the chat. If we want to take that first, it doesn't really matter to me. It's up to you guys. But Zendark did have a question, like a little bit of a higher level idea is like, where did we come up with Mitra and what does it mean? I can tell you what it doesn't mean. It does not mean a foot cream in like Eastern Europe.
I mean, what I will say is that there were a lot of what about this word? And then we were like, that sounds like medication. So
And then we had like real names that we came up with and then Googled them and they were actual medications.
yes.
So we waffled a lot trying to come up with something like Mitra. And I don't know, to like maybe the three of us can do this like one at a time. Like to me, Mitra has like the name. Oh my gosh, what was that? Has this feeling of, you know, it has like this like I have this like cold steel type of like emotion that like goes through my head and like this is the alert layer is behind your map. Ah, there we go. Thank you, Travis.
OBS, baby.
OBS, yeah. You know,
I don't know if we talked about this when we created. I actually think, Ben, I think you were the one that initially pitched Mitra
Yeah, I was.
as the
Yeah.
name. But Mitra is also a Hindu god
Mhm.
that is a sovereign of the principles of the universe, which I think is very fitting. I don't think that was the intention that we had when we were creating it, but also we were looking for something that was going to sort of be all encompassing, that was going to feel like it fit with the Prelori, which we had already created, which were like our sort of creation story. And again, like I'm not going to say like, oh, we knew it was the Hindu god, but I do feel like that cohesion of like this idea of like the sovereignty of the universe and then sort of like where we were in our creation process goes hand in hand very nicely.
yeah. I can agree with that.
Trying to look up. I believe.
You want to share with the class, babe?
Hold on, I'm just trying to find. I'm trying to find. So I think I took Mitra from. I think it's a derivative of a different word, and I'm now blank. I wish I'd written it down. It's a derivative from a different word, which I think meant something. It was something to do with Earth.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the names for things and the words for things are based on other languages. Like the continents, Arhur and Ihur, are based on Irish for East and West.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there's like what I've done is I've gone through and I've picked out a lot of like when we were sort of naming things, like one of the things that I wanted was I wanted them to be based on things from, you know, like languages and cultures sort of across the globe here in the real world. But I wanted there to be like some sort of like, you know, if you like do enough digging, you're like, oh, that means, you know, whatever, or that means this thing. In the case of something like the Prelori, it had less to do with it being based on something, although given that they're sort of like the vanguard, for that to be somewhat indirectly related to like the Praetorian Guard felt like appropriate in that way. But also it was just like we wanted it to kind of like feel old, which I think is, you know, that was sort of like my mindset.
Yeah, maybe that's kind of why I get like this vibe of like cold steel that like has like existed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I just feel like it's such like a solid grounded word for like describing an entire world. And I think that's where like, at least for me, like the strength of it comes from. Like that's just like the emotion and like the mental imagery that like comes to mind when I think of it.
Additionally, and I'm trying to remember if we got this from Sanskrit because we were looking at older languages, but Mitra is a Sanskrit word which means friend, and it's a combination of mi, which means destruction, and tra, which means protective force. And I don't remember. We really should have talked about this before we came on and did a stream about it, because I don't remember. We did so much world building in one night when we sat down for like several hours, and we were like looking through so many old languages and being like, well, what about this? And what if we put these two roots together? And what does that mean? And blah, 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 blah. And I know we did look at Sanskrit. So there's potential that that's where that came from, and I want to throw it out there, but I'm also, again, not claiming that we were like, yes, the Sanskrit word for friend. That's exactly what
Yeah.
we want to use.
I will say though that like all three of us independently though, we kind of do that with whenever we come up with names for
Yes.
things. Like
Yeah.
we definitely like will look into like different languages, especially like dead languages.
Yes.
Wasn't it from Demeter, the Olympian?
Mitra?
Oh, wait, it was Thunder God. Was that in one of our videos? Do we actually document it?
We
and just
actually
have completely
document that
forgotten?
and like have forgotten.
That's
That
very
checks out, too.
possible.
That feels very much like something we would do. Be like, oh, this is a thing we should definitely have somewhere because we're gonna need to review it at some point.
That's
Absolutely
also why we
forget.
record everything too.
Yes.
Bingo.
Because, you know.
Oh, it might have been from Demeter to like something around like being mother.
Oh yeah, because we were thinking about Demeter, and then we were like
Demeter.
Mitra. That sounds
Yeah.
that sounds
way
right.
more on track.
You know more about our world than we do. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I
that
bet they
tracks.
don't know this. We were just talking.
because they're Greek. Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I love when chat can answer questions that we don't know the answers to that
Hey.
are like super basic. Like, why did you name Mitra?
Actually, Zeki, do you want me to? What I can do is I can pull up chat as my video instead. Then you can ask us questions, and then chat can just answer, and I'll just let chat answer for me because they've got a better handle on things than I do. You can interview chat
I mean,
about.
We could do that, but I don't think it's necessary at this point in time.
That is fair. That is fair.
But thank you, Zendark, for that question. And like,
Yeah.
you know,
That's
I
Ukraine
love
health,
that.
birth, and marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right. I was.
that makes
I
sense too. The Magic the Gathering,
Mm.
Theros expansion.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Karametra or something like that. That's like the name of the god
Oh,
of
is it really?
of grain and
Boom, there you go. I do remember being like heavily listening to the Prancing Pony podcast at the point in time that we were doing this. And so I was like fully in the Silmarillion, like the discussion and the dissection of things. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to create a world, I should probably put in like some proper time and like name things based on something that is meaningful as opposed to just like, I like this word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much so that like even I guess now moving forward to like the next thing to kind of talk about, because it has like some very relevant history in world in multiple parts of the timeline. That's right, folks. There are multiple parts of timeline that we have streamed about and played in. And I believe we were like the three of us were kind of like coming up with some additional world building stuff, and Katie was talking about where she's from for the main campaign and stuff, and she was talking about this like really utopian idyllic island that gave me like super crazy strong like Wonder Woman vibes.
I mean, I
but,
think
like,
that I introduced it by saying, think of the island that Wonder Woman comes from. And that's
Yeah.
basically, except for that it's not one gender, it is multi-gender.
Yeah. And we were like, what are we going to call this island? And I'm like, well, it's Katie's Island. Why don't we just call it like Acadia? So
It's like, yes, it's that.
it's that now. So Katie, you want to talk about Acadia a little bit and your island?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. So I was honestly I built this island for this character specifically, because I had started her out being a Kloshtar, and Ben and I had all these conversations about how that opens up a whole other can of worms, that when we're already trying to tackle all this stuff with the story, having to also tackle like you have a dream demon inside of you and it's from another dimension and it kind of has its own personality, and that was just like this extra layer that we already felt ambitious, and this felt extra ambitious. So I was like, all right, how can I reskin a Kloshtar to be just an individual soul, basically? And the idea that I had was, well, what if instead of having like a dream demon inside of her, she has some little spark, like a creation spark, basically, like something from, not necessarily like from the Prelori, but from that initial moment when the world began. And I was like, okay, well, first people. That makes sense. Like these were the first humanoids to ever walk on the planet. They were so close to that initial creation point that they have this little bit of the world that lives inside of them. And then I was sort of like, again, where would they be? What would their focus be? And in that, I was sort of came up with this idea of this island, which now that we're switching to Pathfinder 2E is sort of sitting at the veil of not existence, but the veil between like the material world and like the immaterial world. And it's this place where people who have this ancestry, people who are descendants of the first people that share this link to the creation spark, live together and catalog the world. And I was like, that makes sense, right? These people have been around for so long that their sole function in society has been to be record keepers and the people who write about history and who are sort of like the arbiters of story, but like story being what has come before. And that was how I was kind of like, all right, they're definitely on an island. They are definitely somewhere that is almost like a little bubble of utopia within this larger, more like, it's not that the world is in a terrible place. It's that the world is not, I want to say hegemonic. That's not the right word. It's not homogenous. There we go.
It hasn't come into its own yet.
Yeah, and there is suffering, and there are some places where things are working really smoothly. There are other places where things are, there's this incredible wealth discrepancy and yada, yada, yada. And then that got me thinking about, well, how do we handle the ethics of this like little pocket of utopia within this larger society? And then I was like, okay, well, they send their kids out on these, not all of their kids, but they send certain people who they've handpicked out onto these pilgrimages to essentially go out into the world to make a difference, to collect the stories, to come back, to bring more information about what has been going on in this like less safe space. And that was sort of how I came up with Acadia.
I think it's important to note that what they are not doing is attempting to like convert or anything like that. Like this is not like a mission where you're going out and you're like spreading the good word. This is very much like a go have an impact.
Yes, and come back.
And like learn something about the rest of the world and then come back here and like one, you'll have perspective, which is useful, but two, especially, I mean, I don't want to speak to your character's childhood, but like especially if you're like kind of a little shit.
Oh dang!
Like, you think it's bad here? No, this is not in
no,
like,
this isn't about me.
Case,
yes,
but just like generally, right? Like like you think it's bad? Why don't you fucking go out there, see like all the terrible things that the rest of the world has to offer, and like how good it is here, where like we pretty much focus on like education. And then come back here and tell us that this isn't like a pretty good place to live.
I mean, hilariously, I think it is a bit like, I mean, to a much higher degree, what they did to you at camp, Ben, when you were younger, where they sent you all out into the woods for a night to just like survive alone. And like that was sort of like a rite of passage. And I feel like it's a very similar concept, but obviously with very different factors in play. Where it's like, hey, go survive on your own in this really scary forest that is the rest of the world. And then you will come back and you will be enriched with information and perspective and story and history that you will be able to then bring to be a better member of this society here. Yeah. And it's not the kind of place, or Ben and I had a long conversation about this. It's not the type of place where you can just go on vacation. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like a tourist destination. In order to go, you need to have approval from the higher ups in Acadia. Like maybe you are coming because you need to get information from the library. There is like a bureaucratic approval process if you are not Acadian to visit Acadia. And it's, again, like it's not a pilgrimage where you're going and you're bringing folks back. Like they don't want other people. They are very comfortable in the society that they have created.
Yeah, so like how does that
yes,
work
like a Rumspringer.
Yeah, exactly, like a Rumspringer.
A Rumspringer.
Yeah.
But so I guess like I've always kind of had it in the back of my mind whenever we were like developing this idea and this like concept for Acadia is how do you like ethically rationalize not allowing others to like
So
have that little bit of heaven
I
on Earth?
imagine that there is probably, and like we haven't dug super into this, so this is a little bit of like world building here right now. But the way that I've thought about it is that they aren't like, we don't allow outsiders in. Like, like say that someone goes on their pilgrimage, Rumspringa, whatever, and they fall in love with someone and they want to bring that person back. I imagine it would be something like an application process with like essentially like spousal visa. I mean, it would be called something else, but it's not that they are like completely shut down their borders. It is that they are not actively looking to bring people in, and they are not allowing tourism. So if you come for a specific reason, you can make a good case for why you are going to be there. I think
Yeah.
that is fine, but it's not like, a Hawaii situation where it's just like, oh, I'm going to go to Acadia for the weekend and stay at my beach house and blah, 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 blah. It's very much like you need to show and demonstrate that you respect the culture and you respect what is happening here, and that you are not going to, like, if you're going to come into the library, you are not going to use that knowledge for nefarious purposes. And even like more so, the library is more locked down than even the rest of Acadia is. So I think there's just like a lot of checks and balances to be able to be there. It's not that they are saying no one ever can come and like experience this.
So basically
it's
the
like-
opposite of what we've done with Hawaii.
Yes, the
Yeah.
opposite of Hawaii. Exactly.
Cool. Where we've just gone and like absolutely pillaged all
Yes.
the natural resources
Yes.
and disenfranchised the like native inhabitants and
Yeah.
all right, cool. Yeah.
Katie's like, if we could fix
We can fix Hawaii,
Hawaii.
and what we've done to Hawaii, it would be this.
yes, they're super
yes,
isolationist,
isolated but not
Zendar.
xenophobic.
Yeah.
But also very aware of what is happening in the rest of the world, and I think it is a little bit of self-preservation as well. It's not so much that like everyone out there is terrible. It's more that there are terrible things happening out there, and we want to be very careful about what we let come in here and corrupt this area that we have worked for centuries for. Yes.
Although interestingly, I was going to say at the end of our one shot, which happens
Yeah.
well into the future from where the campaign is set, Acadia has been destroyed, which is a whole thing that like I like on the spot was like, oh, I know where I want to send them. Like in the like as I was describing like what was happening, I was like, I fucking know exactly where you guys are.
Yeah.
And that was a cool moment to be like, there's this thing that I know is like really meaningful and beautiful and wonderful, and I was like, I'm gonna fucking ruin it. I'm gonna destroy it because
So Ben,
You
tell
know.
me, number one, I
Yeah.
think so that way the viewers don't get it twisted around a little bit in their
Hmm.
heads. So in that one shot, which you can go check out on the Amateurish Productions YouTube channel as a VOD,
Yep.
leave a comment, follow, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But
Subscribe, damn
yeah,
do it.
yeah,
Ring
yeah.
that bell.
Katie
Ring-
literally loves reading comments. It's like
Ring-
her favorite
ring
thing
my
to put
bell.
in there. But
Wait,
anyway,
Actually,
I do?
yeah,
Oh,
you've
really?
you've done it a couple times now.
I mean, I do because I see a notification and then I'm like, I have to check.
Yeah,
I guess,
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
I don't-
I have anxiety and I can't
I-
leave a notification unread.
I don't read comments because I
because
can't read.
True story. But to not get it twisted for everybody, in the one shot at the
Mhm.
very end, we all get transported to Acadia,
Yes,
and then the like chaos ensues.
yes, but
Right?
Acadia has already been destroyed by that point in
Exactly.
time.
So that's the one thing I wanted to like make sure that like
Mhm.
everyone was kind of understanding that like this wasn't anything that we did.
Yeah.
Somewhere in between our main campaign and like what was it, like 1,000 years in the future when this happened?
About 2,000 years.
2,000 years in the future,
Mhm.
there was a fall of a utopian society. And this is just like, it's something that I personally love doing in my world building stuff when I'm trying to like kind of fill the world and give it some layers and some depth. I kind of have like in my own world building stuff subdivided time into like ages and like classical ages, like the first age, second age kind of thing. And I feel like when you do that, you can totally like, oh, well, why are these ruins here? Well, you see in the first age, this was a blossoming society. And what we're seeing with Katie's character is this is the blossoming society and somewhere in the next 2,000 years, it becomes like modern day ancient Greece, like Hellenistic ruins and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
So like, what is that story there? And I feel like that's like one of the other things that I really love so much about what we're doing with Mitra is like we leave these little threads open so that way we can
I'm
always
sorry,
come back
I'm
to it.
laughing at Zero's question in chat.
We
we
have
have Orion.
we have Orion,
Okay,
but we've
okay. I actually I do document these things in World Anvil.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do actually.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Shows
I think
how
I might
much
be
you
the,
looked
I
at
might
it.
be the only person who has access to it. Actually, I think Alex
I think we
does
have
as
accounts.
well.
I have
No,
an
that's-
account. I haven't looked at it.
I'm in it as the amateurish account right now. It's
Okay,
I like
perfect.
I looked very gingerly just going straight to the map because I didn't want to like ruin any notes and spoil anything for myself. But like that's how we have the map on screen right now.
Okay, so Ben
Um,
maintains World Anvil. I play in the games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Um,
somewhere Ben is actually like making a canonical document about all
Yeah.
this stuff.
World Anvil has a timeline. The issue that I ran into with this particular instance is I don't actually know when it happened. I just know that it did over the course of
Right.
2,000 years, which is like the massive stretch of time.
Well, I think that that's also something about the way that we are building this world is that, like, Ben was like, oh, and Acadia, the oldest civilization in existence, was destroyed somewhere in these 2,000 years. And we don't know why yet. Like, none of us know why yet.
Yeah,
And we're gonna explore it at some point in, like, a one-shot or, like, a multi-shot or something like that. But we leave ourselves big chunks of time with really important events in them that we don't necessarily ourselves have the answers to what happened there.
Yeah.
Or when, in this case.
Which is exactly something else I was going to kind of follow up with the two of you
Mhm.
with the collaborative storytelling that we're doing. Ben, how intentional, and Katie, feel free to also chime in with this. How intentional is it that we leave blank spots on the map where there could be dragons kind of thing, or sea monsters and unknowns, and thinking about it not just in a flat map but also in a 4-dimensional time space, you know, and like how much of a mind fuck is that?
It is.
I think it's fun.
I mean,
I
it's,
do
it's a
too,
blast.
so.
It is. I think that it is. It's both. It's simultaneously incredibly fun and also incredibly stressful to not have all of the answers about the world as a DM, to be like, I fucking have no idea. Tell me, players. But like after the initial stress and I mean, it's still stressful. To be clear, it's the initial like hump of stress, I guess, is maybe a better way to describe it.
The initial what of stress?
Hump of stress.
It's Wednesday, everybody.
Get some, folks. Or don't, if that's what you're, you know,
or
like that's
not.
not your thing. Then don't get some, and instead, I don't know, have some ice cream or whatever feels like, you know, the equivalent of like a good hump.
When I was in college, this is very personal and embarrassing, but I'm gonna tell it anyway.
Storyboard sneak peek, everybody.
When I was really horny and I would come in from a night out and like I wouldn't have found someone to hook up with, I would just eat hummus instead.
Hummus is your happiness?
Yeah, hummus was my happiness.
Yeah, can we get that on a shirt somewhere, please? Hummus is my happiness.
Wait,
Look, it
coochie,
just
no
felt like
dick, hummus.
It just felt like a safe space to share that with everybody.
It is. This if anywhere is a safe place to do it. It's right here.
I will be citing this exact moment in the divorce proceedings. Be like, she replaced me with hummus, Your Honor. It's been 30 years.
Ben's gonna know something's wrong if like the
If every
fridge
night
just, like,
before
shows
bed
up
I'm
with, like,
eating hummus.
I'm like, hey, do you want it? And she's like, no. Eats another bite of hummus. I'll be like, dang.
I mean, for
Hummus
what it's
is
worth, I
happiness, that's
haven't
right.
had hummus in the fridge since really Ben and I started dating, and I didn't think about that until recently.
Ayo.
But like, there might be something to it. I just
What's up,
thought
Chad?
my
How you doing?
What about whole chickpeas?
Hey.
Is it just chickpeas in general,
No, no.
or is it specifically the garlic and lemon juice that do it for
Listen,
you?
if I'm out and about and there's some good hummus, I'm not gonna not eat the hummus, but I have not gone out of my way to have hummus or chickpeas in the house.
I think I typically am the person that gets hummus,
Oh dang.
even though I don't have that kind of association with it, and actually it makes me super gassy. So
We're just getting real personal.
I'm really.
hey, you know,
Makes me horny. It makes Ben gassy.
fart.
It's a
Makes
great
me fart
time.
a lot, and it's bad. It's really bad. I won't eat it before bedtime because I don't want to be in the same room as other people. Anyhow,
Sorry,
so-
Seki, what was the question?
the question was about sort of the importance of leaving blank spaces in the. The issue is not too much hummus. I am feeling better, although I am still like very like mentally fried from not sleeping, which whatever. But it was about the importance of having these like open spaces both in the timeline and also like the actual map of the world. And I feel like there's sort of two pieces of it to me. One is that it allows for my players to make big sweeping calls about their personal history of like, oh, I grew up in this town, it's gone now, or like it was a small town, it's now a big metropolitan area, like whatever the case may be, which is for me, I think is sort of a foundational part of the collaborative aspect of storytelling in the way that we're attempting to do it, which is like I really do want players to like make those calls and to do the world building as like fully build the airplane while we're in it kind of deal. And I think that having blank space on the map allows players to make those calls and be like, that's a place now, there's a thing there, right? Like where Omar's ascetic temple is, where his character went and studied and spent time in the mountains, like that was not on the map. It is there now because we got to make that call. In the same way, for me, and I actually would love to hear what both of you guys have to say about this. One of the things that I wanted when building this is that if we ever got to a point where people were like, hey, would really love if you would make this into like an actual setting, I would like to run something in Mitra at my home table. Which, like, if people ever want to do that, that's fucking awesome. And hell yeah, I would love that and to hear about it because I like to see what other people do with things that are out there in the world. But
and
more
one day you'll get the tool set from us to help you get there.
Yeah. It'll be 4 pages of information and then a book of just blank pages for you to write in.
The best.
Hell yeah. It's a journal! But like I like the idea of having like these empty spaces where it's like, hey, you want to run a campaign that's like grimdark and like post-apocalyptic? We got a spot for that. You want to run a thing in like a golden age of like high fantasy? We got a spot for that. You want dark ages, like not quite grimdark, not fully high fantasy, like something kind of in between? We got that. You want to like play a bunch of animals? Western? You want to run a Western? There's a fucking place for that. You want to run something where you're playing animals and it's like happy and fun and light and you're just enjoying yourself? We got a book for that.
To be fair, we did have to work really hard to workshop that one into the world.
I don't think
It's
so.
that hard though.
It really wasn't.
It
like,
wasn't that hard.
Yeah,
I think after like 5 minutes, we were like, "Yo, what if it was like part of the meta game and like part of like the morality stories and like."
Yeah. It's sort of like the Aesop's fables of the world is how we worked Jockland into that. Yeah, I think that the hard part for me, and it's not even hard, it's just sort of like keeping things in different compartments of my brain, is to like, I think people know this, I have been helping Ben with sort of like world building prep stuff for Mitra, for like Mitra Rising, the core campaign. And it's really weird because it's such a microcosm of the world that like we were talking last night in our talk back about sort of like trying to tie together the boat heist and Mitra Rising, and we were like, between those two things there are 3 characters that we know for sure transcend those 2 stories.
Yeah.
And it's like to keep your brain thinking about this one campaign where we need to world build in that one campaign and like have everyone's stories and where they're from fleshed out and like build out Mitra in that moment in time while also building out Mitra in a more like 3-dimensional, or like, I don't know, what dimension is time? Is that the fifth, fourth? yeah, 4-dimensional scale of time being an element as well, it feels like you're almost working on two different things at once. And I think of that as the piece that my brain kind of like, it's like, all right, which gear are we in? Are we in like the macrocosm or are we in the microcosm? And the microcosm is super fucking important because it's our main campaign. So it's not like it's just like a throwaway, I mean, not that a one-shot's throwaway, but you know what I mean? Like a one-session thing where the lore is going to be pretty light. Like this is a lore-heavy story that we're telling within an even
Multiple
more
fronts.
lore-heavy world that we are building.
Yeah,
which is currently lore light because
Which is
we're making
currently
it up.
lore light
Yeah,
because we're
like,
building it. Yeah, exactly.
But to me, it's like this beautiful thing where, like, at least for my like experience in both behind the screen world building with the two of you, and also as like a player coming up with stuff. Number one, and this will lead into another question, is like for me, the flexibility in creating my own agency allows me to really tell the story that I want to tell with my friends at the table. And I think that's like so fucking cool. And the other thing, like from behind the screen kind of thing, we kind of have set this up where there's, like Katie's saying, a microcosm of the here and now of a certain campaign, but then there's also this like much larger 4-dimensional macrocosm of like potentially repeating cycles of events and motifs and themes, and but at the same time it like has these like really cool and unique fractals that like break down back into that microcosm, and you can see these things playing out, and then, you know, it's just like this really cool thing at the end of the day. And I think something that we're all going to be super proud of on the channel is like we created this giant framing network of like fractal ideas and concepts and stories, you know. And like
This sounds so pretentious when I hear us say it out loud.
super pretentious, but like at the same time it's really not. Like
yeah, it's
like,
no, it's not. But it's just, I hear us talking, I'm like, God, I feel
yeah,
like
but like
Back when I designed the world.
but it's and I think like, you know, in like 2 or 3 years we'll be able to be like those pretentious people that like
I can't wait for it.
have literally put in the work to do that.
Yes.
And like this goes for every single player who comes on the channel to help create something. Like you all have ownership in that because of what we're doing. And chat
I think that's
too.
the other thing is like, you know, like so far it's been like some small things like naming Alex's companion Neener, but we're open to that kind of stuff, especially in like our talkbacks where we're having conversations about what happened the previous episode. If people have ideas and things that they want to share with us, like it's a collaborative story. That's I mean, not even story, it's a collaborative world for you to tell stories in.
Yeah. So like I guess that's kind of like the long elevator pitch, right?
It kind of reminds me in like a weird twisted way of, oh my God, what is it called? Is it the SCP? Or
SCP Foundation?
SCP Foundation?
Yeah.
It's very similar in terms of the way that it's structured to that, where, you know, all of the stories that come in are like go through moderation to make sure it fits the world, but it's like people from all over giving their short stories to this website to enrich this world that they have created, which if you haven't looked at the SCP Foundation, it's fucking cool as hell.
I think Ben actually introduced it to me like a few years ago at this
A
point.
long time ago.
We deep dive during COVID, like during like the lockdowns in 2020.
I read so many of those stories.
Yeah.
So many of those stories. They were so creepy.
But it's a similar thing. Like the concept is very similar. SCP. SCP.
C is in caterpillar. P is in
Here, I'll throw it out.
penis.
There's a link. I made it nice and easy for everyone.
You
Oh,
cannot post link.
You cannot post a
Oh,
link.
I can't?
No, because you're it's a moderation thing. It's so that people can't post links to like porn.
But it
Yeah,
looks like it posted.
To you, yes.
To
So
Oh.
I
stars.
see 3 stars.
if you send it to me, I might be able to post it through OBS.
Is this the right thing? Hold on.
SCP Foundation.
Yeah. This looks
Probably is.
different.
Yeah, it's basically it's just like taking all of these stories from various mythologies and some from not like that are not mythological and providing them context in the like real world. Except there's like multiverses and sometimes like things go awry and the timelines collide. I don't know. It's really cool.
That's cool.
And it feels honestly, you know, like a lot of ways feels very similar to what we were going towards with this, which I think, yeah, Katie, that's a phenomenal comparison. Is that
Thank
like,
you.
yeah, you know, it's not just collaborative in that it's like just us at the table, but like truly, you know, the idea of people being able to say like, hey, you know, like, here's this thing, and it being like, okay, let's take a look at that. And like, okay, well, that actually would fit. Cool, add it in. Like, it's part of the world now.
So Ben, I guess, has there been anything yet in world building Mitra that kind of has then, I think it's just .co, Mr. Travis.
It's .com.
It's .com?
Oh, weird.
You sent me the wrong one.
I copied and pasted it directly. Whatever.
Zendark, I apologize for the dank link. That's on me.
Apparently it's my fault.
I trusted Katie.
I know. She
But
never trusts me.
but Ben, has there been anything in the world building here so far, whether it's been online with everybody in the chat or whatever is going on in stream or offline between just like the three of us, or even just you and Katie after your hummus, you know, talking about Mitra?
Is that going to be our code word for sex now?
Gonna
Sorry, Zeki. Ben and I are just going to have some hummus. We'll be right there.
So,
Oh, I hate
I'm
this so
not
much.
even not going any further into that. But
That's why we don't
Has it-
post links.
yeah, no links.
Getting close to that topic.
But has there been anything that like has gotten left on the cutting room floor that like can't fit into Mitra? You know, like, or is it like really designed as like a space where almost anything is possible?
You know,
That question
Except for the Dairy
was
Queen.
directed
Except
at me, young lady. Thank you.
sorry, I
I
have
w-
thoughts. I apologize.
No, go ahead. What do you have? Because
go ahead.
I need a minute to think about it. So please go ahead.
No, I think that the hardest thing. So we're starting this Jocelyn campaign in March. For me, since it's an ongoing campaign, we felt really strongly that anything that is going to be ongoing on the channel should fit into Mitra in some way. And I think I thought about it for a while before I talked to either of you, and I like came and I pitched this idea of what if it's a story. Or Ben said, "What if it's a TTR?" I don't remember, but it was.
I think I said something about like, what if it's a game the kids play?
Yeah,
like, what if
Ben
it's like
said,
a tabletop game the kids play in the world.
And then I was like, "What if it is a children's storybook?" And that way we don't have to deal with like the meta issues of, well, if you're playing a kid playing a character, then there's like layers there, which then is PCs. Like if you want to get into that could get really complicated. It could take away from just like the kind of like chill, cozy game vibe that Jockland is. So I think that was probably the most difficult thing for me to figure out how to set in Mitra, but it wasn't hard. It just involved some creativity. And you know, like we've talked about really fun meta things, like what if, like, who's the author? What if we meet the author? Like, what if there are things in those books that are somehow tied into the real world and blah blah blah. I don't know if you and Cam have chatted about that yet, Ben, but those are just like things that we've thrown around. Or maybe not. Like maybe it really just is this bedtime story that is this sweet little, you know, campaign that we do that doesn't have to be more than that in Mitra. It can just be cozy and fun. We do have some other kind of like not campaigns but series that we have committed to on the channel, which are, you know, there's no way to build them into Mitra. Like for example, the Call of Cthulhu that Maddie is running, the solo adventure. I think I thought a little bit about like, should we try to slot this in? And the end sort of verdict there was no, we don't need to force anything to be in Mitra that's not in Mitra. When that is done, then that'll be done, and it will have been an out of Mitra, like whatever, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be in Mitra for it to work on the channel. And as we move more towards everything being in Mitra, then fine. But I know, like, I definitely sat down with a couple different things with Call of Cthulhu and with the Disney multi-shot, and was like, is there any way to make these be in Mitra? And sometimes the answer is no, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are laughing. Why are you laughing?
Oh,
Just
chat.
because of the chat. But like also
Sorry
No,
that
this
I'm just
game-
so boring.
you're definitely not boring, Katie. And I was
Boring.
formulating an entire thought while you were talking about Cthulhu.
What did
Only
Katie say?
because
I wasn't paying attention. It got
Oh,
really
you're a
boring.
bitch.
it's like I do have a little bit of a gothic horror like enjoyment that I get when I'm reading that kind of stuff.
Mm.
And you know, being able to separate the good and the bad elements of everything too is like super important when talking about H.P. Lovecraft with Call of Cthulhu. But
Oof.
the
And-
idea of like these elder primordial forces that exist outside of like the material can totally fit within the realm of things if
Oh.
we so choose to, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. I did not mean to say that like Call of Cthulhu would not fit. What I meant to say is
Yeah.
that Maddie is
Yeah.
specifically running the solo like box set that
Mhm.
already has like lore and all that kind of stuff established. And so in that specific context, it did not work in Mitra. Not that like as a game, Call of Cthulhu could never be transposed to be in Mitra.
I think Call of Cthulhu would
It would be great in Mitra.
be
Yeah.
dope. Honestly,
Ben.
Then
the-
no.
Ben.
We have no time.
No. Hear me out. The fall of Acadia played in Call of Cthulhu could be really,
Oh.
really interesting and could be like a great way to
man.
explore how it got destroyed.
Katie,
Just-
there's your next
Boom.
multi-shot to DM.
I don't hate that actually. I need to. I've never played Call of Cthulhu. I need to learn it, but that could
Well,
be really fun.
You know, fortunately for you, next week on AP you can check it out and watch some solo play going on in world. So
It's true.
um,
I actually can't because Ben and I will be at an event in New York, but I will watch the VOD.
fair enough. But yeah, so I guess, you know, Katie, what
Wait, Ben needs to answer
About-
the question.
oh yeah, Ben, have you
I stole his
formulated
thunder.
The
his Greek thunder?
I stole Greek Thunder.
not my hummus.
Oh no.
Oh God,
So many levels.
Oh yeah.
that really is layered. And I don't think I like it, and it's kind of my fault.
It's a hummus. Oh, it's like a hummus.
It's like a
multi-
5-layer hummus
seven-
dip.
Oh.
That one.
What do you
from
mean a nat?
Zendara.
Get the fuck out of here, Travis. That's a 20 and you know it. But no, I think to answer the question,
Go to jail.
put yourself to, do not pass go, do not collect $200. I don't know that there's anything that I have explicitly been like, nah, that doesn't work. Like even when it was jokingly brought forth that like one of the characters in a one shot was from the Jersey Shore, I was like, fuck it, I guess we've got a Jersey Shore in Mitra.
And it got nuked, so don't worry.
And then I did destroy it like as like the next session. I was like, but it's not gonna last. I mean, we've had this conversation internally like once or twice, but like what I would love more than anything else is to like establish that this is like a multiversal space. And the reason that I want that specifically, yes, much shade to the Jersey Shore. But the reason that I want to do that specifically is because I want, you know, if there's like a scenario that comes up, or if there is like a quest line that comes up, or maybe a one shot that comes up, and people are like, you know what? I really want to steal that and run it for my group. Be like, that one shot, the one shot that you run in that same setting is canon. It's a different universe, right? Different layer of the multiverse, but it's fucking canon. Because that to me is like a cool way for people to be able to say like, yeah, I like my game is, it's like part of the reality, right? Like I want people to have that opportunity. Should you feel so inclined? Should you not? Cool. That you know, hey, do your thing. You know, I want people to feel like, whether it's my players or whether it's folks who are, you know, maybe at home who are like, you know what, I actually really enjoyed that because of X, Y, or Z thing, and or I liked that particular character and I want to do something with that character, whether it's an NPC or a PC or whatever, or maybe it's just like a space that we've been in and they're like, oh, I actually could like, I want to make like a one shot or like a mini series for my home game and I want to run them through something related to it. Like, it's fucking canon now. Like, that I think is
Make
fun.
your own canon.
Yeah, like, you know, I don't know. I think about things like Exandria Unlimited, right? You have another DM come in and DM in this world that you've created a like incredibly pivotal moment. How much fun would it be in a home game to run that setting with your own PCs, whatever else? You can make whatever changes you want to, and have it be effectively considered canon. That's a fun time, right? Like that is,
Yeah.
And maybe the outcome is totally different. Maybe they are in fact successful, and this crisis is averted, and therefore like things go wildly differently. Still canon. You have not broken anything because it's a multiverse. You can do whatever you want, and it like, in some ways it makes things inconsequential, but in some ways it allows you to have like these incredible consequences and explore them in a way that is totally faithful to the way that the world was intended. And I think that ultimately, like, I want people to break things and to have fun with it and know that like it's completely faithful to the idea behind the creation of the world, which is like, break it, have fun.
But I do think we're gonna maintain a canon on our channel though.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to be clear about that like there is the Mitra canon on our channel. It's just this idea that like if you want to play in Mitra, you can without fucking it up.
Yeah.
And you can also be the heroes. Like you can be who we were.
You could kill the party.
Yeah, you could kill all of the people.
They're level 3. It'd be easy. Just fucking whack them. Yeah.
It is literally, there's not a single person in our party that feels killable though. Like all of that feels bad. You know what I mean? We don't have like that one asshole in the group. Everyone is just cute and sweet and like has a good heart. Unlike...
So you mean that they're all like extremely inviting to kill because it would be traumatic for all of you?
Yeah, I guess.
Sure, Ben.
I don't know. I had a thought and it disappeared on me. I think it was kind of in line with, you know, Ben, you know how much I love like a good multiverse and like a good, you know, I mean, I'm running Chaos Ladies, right? Like they're on the Astral Sea. There's plenty of different planets to go and visit. There's an entire universe to explore, right?
Hell yeah.
I have canonically said that the Chaos Ladies happens in the same world as the Natural Ones, as they were both starting this campaign kind of thing in Green Foam, which is like my little like New England fishing town, you know, starter city kind of thing. But like, who's to say that like in the multiverse that can't be connected somehow, some way, you know, like it doesn't have to be, like I'm not trying to force it, but like at the same time, like I love timeline shenanigans, you know.
Seki,
like...
if I never have to see Denis again, it'll be too soon. I was expecting a one shot with a super annoying character, and then I got roped into like 10 episodes with this super annoying character who
she's a lot less
personally
annoying.
Want to strangle every time I play her, so I can't imagine how it feels.
I mean, you know, I also thought it was going to be a one shot as well, and then we're like, we're having too much fun to like not continue doing this for like at least a little bit, and then I'm like, you know what, I've really like wanted to do something with Spelljammers and like get into space, but still have like these crazy fantasy elements.
I mean, it's super fun. I just would have picked to be less annoying had I known.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, I don't know, but like part of me like never would have wanted you to like change that either.
That's fair. That's
Because-
fair. I mean, she is who she is now. There's
Yeah, and like to me, like I always like whenever I hear you talk in character, I only hear and see Alexis from Schitt's Creek. You know what I mean? So like
Facts.
so
Yeah.
so to me, like as like someone who's like viewing this, you know, thing as like the dungeon master and also just as like a person like experiencing the three of you interacting, it's like super fun to like know that, you know, like Alexis in Schitt's Creek, Denis has this capacity to like grow and evolve and become a much bigger a little bit of Lex. Exactly, Zendark, exactly. But you know, that's kind of like what I always think of when I think of like, so to me, Denis is not super obnoxious. She's just this character who hasn't figured shit out yet.
Mhm.
And I think that's a beautiful place for any player character to be. You know?
yeah.
But getting back to Mitra, you know, not to just talk about other things. I guess Ben,
Yeah.
what is your favorite piece of lore that isn't going to spoil anything in the story and might be something in general that the player characters should know?
Ooh.
And if you need a minute, I'm going to follow the same question up with Katie.
Don't do this to me, Zeki.
I am doing it because like this is the juice. This is like the frame by frame of the metagame, right?
Yeah.
Like I want to know like what is the cool shit that like someone coming to this world might want to like explore, and like coming from the DMs specifically, I think that like that's such like an important thing because, you know, in my world, maybe I put a rock in the map and it means something, and like to you it's just a fucking rock on the ground.
Right.
But like 2,000 years ago in the timeline, that was like an altar, you know, and like a crazy like druidic schism happened because of it.
Okay.
So let's hear it, Ben.
I figured it out. Actually, can you move the map up over towards the mountains that are like up and to the right from where we currently are?
The ones in the Kingdom of Kar, or even
Yes.
further?
And yeah, no, those are the ones. And then go straight up from there. You see that little? No, go to your left a little bit to. So there's like that mountain range there. Yeah, okay. You see that little brick underneath the Oim Theocracy, just to the left of the
This
mountain
one?
range there. There's like a little
Yeah.
brick there, of unaccounted for space.
Mhm.
That is my favorite piece. It has not been established. I don't know what it is, but something fucking happened there, and there's a reason that it doesn't belong to anyone, and I cannot wait for us to figure out what that is. But I have looked at that specific nugget on the map probably 40 or 50 times and been like, why does this exist? One is a question of like software. Why the fuck does this exist in a randomly generated map? But also then like, okay, I can't actually ask the software why this exists. What I can instead ask is like, why does this exist in the world? Why has no one been like, that belongs to us? So I guess there's two pieces. One is
Okay.
that one, because that is sort of this unestablished, this like void, which
Yeah.
is super fun. Because I
It
don't
is
know
like
why it's there.
definition blank spot on the map.
Yes, like the most pure example of it. The second piece is one that we're actually going to, I think, in a lot of ways, sort of flesh out tomorrow on AP, which is the Cloud Theocracy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Which is-
Jesus one, right?
It
is.
Is it the Jesus?
It is the Jesus one.
It's definitely the
It's the
Dairy
Jesus.
Queen one,
I
for sure.
I swear on my life, because I remember this conversation. This was the theocracy that I specifically said, I want a theocracy that doesn't fucking suck. Because every theocracy fucking sucks. And then I was like, what if it is a deity? This is actually going to be my answer. So I'm stealing this from you.
So as I was saying, if we want to just casually.
No, because
zero.
I
So
care
is like
about this
my
theocracy. This is my fucking theocracy.
Oh, this is your theocracy?
Oh man,
hang
Zero.
on.
Just so you know, we did have to kind of adjust that because Ben was not down with the Dairy Queen.
No, we had this. You can go
There will
back
be
to our
no-
old world building
Oh,
stream.
there will be no evidence of American capitalism in my story. God fucking damn it. I will. No.
I mean, we have a whole capitalistic
No.
continent, but okay.
Well, yes, but there will be no references specifically.
Sure, sure.
I will
I
not
just
give
like
that
a good grill and
airtime.
chill, Ben. I just like a good grill and chill.
But no, when we were talking about, we were looking at the map and we were building out different places on the map. And there were 3 theocracies,
Mhm.
and you both were like,
There's
theocracies always.
more. There's
Well, there
more
were
than
3. Yes, there
There's
were
3
3 that
big
we were
ones.
looking
Yeah,
at.
yeah.
And you were both like, oh, theocracies just suck. They always just suck. And I was like, yes, but what if they didn't? And
Mhm.
then I was like, I also think that like when religion gets too intertwined with government, that it is a problem. We are all very religious humans. But what religion at its core is something that is meant to like bring people together and make them feel less alone. So what if it genuinely is a theocracy that is not, it's like not the type of place where you have to convert to be there. It's just that you have to live by like a certain set of ideals that have been set forward. And then we start talking about like, oh, so like Christianity, if Christianity didn't get completely fucked up, like if what Jesus taught was
what
actually
what was preached and
what was
and,
preached
lived.
and like
And
yeah,
practice.
then like what would that look like? And then we were sort of like, okay, like since the cloud theocracy is already on the socialist continent, like let's make that, because we kind of have divided the 2 continents into like more socialist leaning and more capitalist leaning. Then like let's explore what that would look like in the context of being a very socialist theocracy where they're founded on these tenets of like taking care of your neighbor and like everyone having their basic needs met, yada yada yada. And I can't believe you would try to steal that from me, you bitch.
My idea
So
the whole time.
Katie, is that your favorite thing then?
Yes, that was the thing I was gonna fucking say. And the Ben stole it because he hates me.
You guys can share it, much like everything else in your lives, since Hummus is married now. But I guess my favorite thing. Oh, that's so tough.
It's like, yeah,
It will be a hummus night. That's right, Zero.
Hey babe, what you doing later?
Eating hummus.
Getting gassy as hell, bro.
Oh man.
Oh, sorry, Zeki. What are you?
No,
looking
it's
forward
totally
to?
okay. Like, I think my favorite thing. That's so freaking difficult.
It's a hard question.
It is a hard question. I think that like though my favorite thing that's gonna happen is, or that like I love about like the world of Mitra is like all the stuff I can't talk about yet. Because, and I know that that's like a major like anti-answer to the question, but I am the host of this show, so
You get to do that.
I get to do that.
Yeah.
Especially with the fact that, you know, one of the last things I wanted to talk about, and one of the cool things I think exists within this world, is that we are going to have multiple DMs doing flagship campaigns, right? And right now, Ben, you're doing the first one. But once this campaign is kind of done in the next like year and a half or whatever, however long you think you need to tell your story is
Strap
what
in
I
for
think
a
it should-
decade.
I mean, if that's what it takes, it's what
No.
it takes, baby.
No, God no. That is the best way to send me into Silver Fox Land the fastest. It is so.
I was muted. Never mind. It's fine.
What?
I was just making little comments, and then I looked down at my mic and realized I had muted myself, and none of that
Aw.
came through. But that's
It's
okay.
It's okay. It was probably hummus related anyways,
You
so
took the words right out of my mouth.
it's a-okay. But you know, my favorite things about Mitra is the campaign that I've already started like formulating. And I can't wait for everyone to see it and be a part of it. and I know Katie has probably already started brewing up some stuff in her head too. It's actually something that I think we need to have as like an action item on our next meeting whenever that gets to happen. We should totally, start laying down some outlines if that's like a thing. Just because, we have the time to prepare for it. Unlike Ben, who has, saddled up and is really, kicking at major ass
Help me.
in doing this. But, I guess, at the end of the day, my favorite thing about Mitra is the fact that we all get to create a piece of it. Whether you're in the chat joining us, or whether you're a player in the game, or you're the dungeon master or game master, keeper, lore keeper, whatever you want to call it. And that's kind of where I sit with that. So I think in the last few minutes here, maybe Ben, you can give us it is such a producer answer. I know it is, but like right now, my favorite thing is cornucopia. And my favorite thing is being able to be this, what appears to be a little kid.
He's a kid.
Who is not a little kid, though.
Can't change my
God, I
mind. He's a kid.
can't.
He's a kid.
I know that I say that Azad doesn't get it, but also Katie, get uncomfortable sometimes. Just like, are you 9? Are you 30? I'm so confused.
This might be a little bit of a hype, and I know Omar is here in the chat, and he might be sweating a little bit because a lot of this is going to revolve around him. But next Tuesday, I think so much is going to be discussed, revealed, and starting to like get put into boxes. Like we are really going to start like dissecting characters.
Yeah. Literally.
Respect me, Daddy.
I can't end on that, Katie.
So
I was so close. It was so close.
you're like
So close
about
to
to wrap
wrapping
it
it
up
up
with this
really
beautiful
well.
little bow, and then Katie's like, "I'm gonna ruin that."
So dissect me. Cut me up.
Got my life in.
Oh man.
Sorry,
That's
Zeki.
gonna-
You
that's
wanted to wrap it up and put a little bow on it, right? That's weird. Oh, whoa.
no.
Look how it changes the color of my fidget toy. Sorry. I need help.
We're devolving, everyone.
We are
And,
devolving.
If there was ever any question as to whether or not this is a neurodivergent household, there
right?
are no more questions about that now.
I don't think there was
Yeah.
ever a question, Ben.
No, I don't think so either. But just in case,
So I guess some like final thoughts then to really wrap this up without getting into any dissections about
Sure.
hummus.
Seems like a good-
Sure.
good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
What, without spoiling anything, Ben, can we expect in the coming weeks for the show? Broad strokes, broadest of strokes.
The
you
broadest
can
of
give us.
strokes.
Pathfinder.
Well, I mean, yes. So one is the Switch Pathfinder, although that's sort of more of a mechanical thing and less of a like in-game thing.
Is that
Um,
affecting the storytelling at all for you?
Not really. No.
Okay, good.
I don't think so. Yeah. Because
That's
I
excellent.
think the way that I approach storytelling is very similar to I think the way that we're sort of building this world out, which is like it's kind of system agnostic. This could be the Star Wars system, and you guys could be like Jedi and shit. It wouldn't really change it. It would still be the story that it is. The thing that I think you guys can expect is trauma. If I had to give it a
Okay.
big old broad brush, trauma.
Dang.
Yeah, there's a
Alright.
lot of. I mean, I don't know that any of you created happy backstories. So,
No. Absolutely not.
I feel like, as a GM, as your guide, your whatever, I would be remiss if I didn't say like, oh, you've got a sad backstory? Cool, we're gonna explore that because like, what kind of a friend allows a friend to write a sad backstory and isn't like, we're gonna explore the shit out of that,
Exactly.
I think it's interesting too that we're trying to go. I mean, not trying to go. We have this like very lighthearted, jokey way of being when we play TTRPGs, and then we're also like, but hey, here's all of the trauma under the surface. So it's like this weird balancing act that I think you have to really do, Ben. I mean, we do it too, but especially as the DM, of like, this is silly, but also now we need to address the fact that you have PTSD, or the fact that your mother figure is evil? Question mark? Unclear. I still don't know a lot about Omar's mom because I intentionally didn't listen to Omar talking to Ben, so
Yeah.
you know.
But that's like part of the fun too.
Yes.
And like, oh my gosh. There's gonna be so much trauma. And I think that's like also
There's gonna be so much trauma.
I think that's like part of like what, you know, besides like the three of us, I think that's what makes the whole group gel so well, is that we all, you know, are able to take comfort in humor. Like that is like our home base.
Yeah.
Because we are in a sea of terrible. And I know at least in like my own DM style and Ben's and Katie's too, after going through that opera house and almost getting killed a couple times. I think like we all just like in a general style is like, we're gonna have jokes, but we're telling very dark stories that are exploring very adult and real themes.
Yeah.
We're just packaging it in such a way that makes it not so big of a pill to swallow.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a really good way to frame it, actually.
Yeah.
I was thinking very much in terms of some of the characters in the campaign as this being honestly in some ways kind of therapy for not necessarily the
Dude, I
character,
felt
but
like
the
every
player.
single session that we like do this kind of stuff is like therapeutic, like 100%.
Azad is just slowly becoming my self-insert, so no comment.
Yeah.
Slowly?
Slowly?
She's a little more anxious and like,
Katie,
okay, you know what?
you're getting two side eyes right now, and I'm sure like there's like a handful of people in the chat that
We're
are
all
like,
We're also side-eyeing.
They're all looking at their computer like,
Okay, well, she's a mom, so
she is a
stuck
mom.
on that.
Yeah. But we are approaching 8:30,
Yep.
and
Mhm.
you know, before we hop off, I would like to, you know, first thank you Zendark for the sub. Thank you Thunder God for the follow. I don't think I missed anybody else that followed tonight. I might have. If I did, I'm terribly and utterly sorry. I'm trying to keep track of all that kind of stuff as it
There was
pops
one
up
more,
on
says
screen.
Zendark.
Zendark, who was it? Give them the shout out so I can give them the shout out. They get
Out-
double
out.
shouted out.
out yourself so we can all shout at you. I mean, shout you
Joriel.
out. Oh, Joriel. Oh, hell yeah.
Joriel, I think Joriel actually followed during the last storyboard episode, maybe.
Oh,
Whenever we were doing the worldbuilding.io, which I have used. I used it last week in Chaos Ladies, actually. So
hell yeah.
really cool way to use like name generator like really fast on the fly.
Yeah, double
Um,
thanks to Joriel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
double thank you to Joriel.
Triple thank you to Joriel.
And thank you, Zendar, for keeping me honest on this, because we all need a little help sometimes. That being said, Katie, where can people find you on the internet?
Oh my goodness. On the internet, you can find me at Katie Mera. Mera has an H, so KATIEMEHERA.
Mehera.
Mehera. Or at twitch.tv/amateurish productions. Almost every
Excellent.
fucking day of the week.
Yeah, pretty much. And Ben, what about you?
Well, you can also find me at Amateurish Productions on Twitch and on Twitter, because I frequently am logged into that Twitter by accident and not my own, and so I will respond to things as if it's just me, but it's
I
not.
love it.
If you do want to interact with definitely me on Twitter and I guess Instagram, although I spend very little time there. Don't follow me on Instagram.
Same.
It's just Ben_M_squared. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's me.
And as always, you can, you know, follow some of those links below my face on the screen here at Zektown on Instagram and on Twitter. And, you know, you can find me here with a tale of d20s. Looking forward for the week with the schedule. This Sunday, we have a huge session 0 coming up with the A Tale of D20s presents Descent into the Void Campaign 2. Campaign Harder. I don't think that's the exact name. Omar will probably...
Campaign smarter, not harder.
Campaign smarter, harder, and better. We'll see. The first campaign was pretty freaking epic, and I know Omar has been working for what feels like almost a year now on a super epic campaign set in the same universe as the first campaign, which all of our players are going to find out one way or another with little Easter eggs here and there, I'm hoping. That'll be a ton of fun. Tomorrow, I'm also going to be on Amateurish Productions, where we will be, as we mentioned, doing some world building live with one of our favorite, I shouldn't say favorite, I shouldn't play favorites, but Balra is one of our favorite guests that we have on the channel.
You know what I will say?
Fairly regularly.
Baller is my favorite VTuber because she's the only VTuber that I know.
Exactly.
That counts.
That's true. That is a true statement. So our favorite VTuber will be joining us for some world building and then also some Among Us.
Yes.
I don't have anything planned for Saturday, but the night is still young. It's only 8:30
Take
after
a break,
all.
babe. Just,
I'm probably going to take a
just
break.
chill.
World building videos slap. Well, we will be slapping hard tomorrow. Don't you worry. And hopefully we slap pretty hard tonight where, you got to hear some deeper dives into things that have not been explored in the campaign yet and will probably come up. So as always, you get the storyboard sneak peeks. That's what I promised to all my viewers. And I hope you had a good time tonight, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Yeah,
Thanks for having us up.
Thanks for having the time to be here tonight. It's super special when I get to have these guests on. So I'm not 1,000% sold on who my next guest is, but pay attention to all those socials that I talked about because I will be posting it on there as soon as possible. A lot more Pathfinder homebrew stuff on the horizon, as well as a ton of different voices, which is what we do here on A Tale of D20s. Have a good night, everybody. Is there anybody we should raid, Katie and or Ben?
I think that April is on. Let me double check though. Yeah, she is, and so is Roll for Felicity. I would say either April or Roll, unless you have someone, Ben.
I do not.
All right.
Let's do April. We know April. April's a friend of the channel at this point, even though she doesn't know it.
Okay, so we're gonna do raid. And I'm gonna type in April's name. I think I'm spelling this right. I always hate doing the send off when I don't do it right. I wish there was like an easier way to do this. But while you're all watching me squint, make sure you like and follow on all those buttons down below. Your support really helps with a lot of like the background costs. I mention this on every channel I'm on, but like we're all dealing with the same production costs and like subscriptions that we have to account for and stuff. So every little bit helps. And
it's a fact.
And if you follow us, then you get notifications every time we go live. So that way you don't miss programming like this in the future. So until we're, being broadcasted in a syndicated manner, this is the best way to do it. So until next time, it's been real. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Oh, yeah. Check out the A Tale of D20s website as well.
Do it.
Yeah, do it. I actually got a little bit more time.
Do it, you won't.
It's actually a really beautiful website, so check it out. And that's it.
Heck yeah.
And that's the thesis.
All the tea that's fit to print.
What?
And we're done.
Okay. Are we offline?
You are about 0.0